If you clicked on this video, you might be interested in starting your own webtoon, and I'm going to show you how. Hey YouTube, and welcome back to my channel. I am Artsume Shay. If you didn't know already, the subject of today's video I am very excited about, something I've been keeping under wraps for quite a while. Now the reason I am so excited about today's video is because I have an announcement, and that announcement is I can't roll my tongue. I am starting a webtoon. Woo! I'm starting a webtoon. It's been a long time coming, and that's what today's video is really all about. Today, I'm going to be breaking down my pre-visualization and ideation process with creating my webtoon. The process in general has been extremely gratifying, and I really do hope that this is able to benefit you, the viewer, especially if you are planning on creating your story of your own. But first, if you are interested in my artist journey, my webtoon journey, and just more of what's to come in the future, please do consider subscribing to the channel and liking this video. It really does mean a lot, and I wouldn't want you to miss out on what's to come. This video is also serving as kind of an enhancement of a panel I actually did just last year. It was at Anime Weekend Atlanta, where I talked to folks about how they can make their own webtoon from beginning to end. So you may be asking, what is the premise of your story? Well, I am glad you asked. My story is called Space Ultima. It is a sci-fi adventure action webtoon that stars Sophie. Sophie is a convenience store worker who, let's just say, is a little behind in her life and career, and like many of us might be a little discontent with where they are in life. Now, granted, she's always played it safe and takes care of her and her sick grandmother, so she has a sense of responsibility, of course. One night, during one of her many night shifts, she interacts with a very interesting and slightly arrogant stranger who is definitely not from this world. After a few interesting hijinks, Sophie then is whisked away to a faraway galaxy. With this comes its own set of challenges, new relationships, and new things to overcome, all for her to defend the world that she is now in, and defeat, of course, a foe that is quite a menace, if I do say so myself. Getting to that was not easy, and today I'm going to start the path that I have taken to get from just an idea to a full story outline. Step 1, brainstorming. Recommended tools are a notebook or sketchbook. These can be physical or digital, sticky notes, and then Notion, as many of us know, comes in clutch for a variety of things, and that definitely helped me in some of the brainstorming elements. First thing, of course, is the who. Who is your story about? This is typically the protagonist. Protagonists don't need to be perfect, they don't need to be the good guy necessarily, and they can maybe even be the bad guy, who knows. But the protagonist, of course, is that person who that essentially we are going to be rooting for throughout this story. So I just wanted to take this time and jot down things like her background, her motivations, and what her internal struggle is, especially when we meet her at the beginning of her story. With Sophie, I have her as a mature, strong-willed female. She's somebody who wants to do the right thing, and she always puts others before herself. Now, that has, of course, caused her detriment in some way, because she has pretty much put her entire life on pause. So because of that, this new adventure is going to cause some tension, because it's going to require her to step out of her comfort zone, and that's something that she has held on to for a really long time. We have to add a little sprinkle of pressure. You need pressure to make a diamond, right? So that's where our secondary protagonist comes in, that being Zan. Now, Zan, in a way, is kind of the opposite of Sophie. Zan is a little bit arrogant, a little bit of a show-off, and just goes to the tune of his own horn. He, of course, is going to be the catalyst for Sophie and her, voyage to this new world. There are, of course, things that him and Sophie are complete opposites in, but then there are also things that both she and Zan share. And those characteristics, especially when you're thinking about character dynamics, understand where their motivations differ and where their motivations align. And that creates, in my opinion, some very organic tension. And the tension that these characters have is what is going to give us the excitement, is going to give us the plot, is going to give us some characters that go beyond the screen and beyond the page and actually feel like real life people. The next thing I wanted to think about is the what. I really was thinking about what some of these major themes that are going into the story and how they can be brought to life when we are telling the story. So of course that brings into play the theme. And the theme is really the core of your story. It's another helpful thing to think about, what is your story inspired by? Now, some people feel like this has to do with copying. You want to have an original idea. All of us do. Also keep in mind that there's nothing really new under the sun. Coming up with these ideas, you're really reinventing these ideas by telling them in your own voice. External inspiration came from some of my very favorite pieces of media. I was inspired by the sci-fi and cyber stories of Cowboy Bebop. You have this misfit crew who are traversing through the universe and getting into some very interesting adventures. Then you have the futuristic cyberpunk world of Ghost in the Shell. There's even a sprinkling of Arcane, where you have this cyberpunk, steampunk, but then also integrations of magic and superpowers. As I was coming up with my ideas for the story, I took in these inspirations. Obviously, you're not going to regurgitate all of this stuff that you come up with, but you are going to kind of curate some things that work in the different pieces of media that you are gaining inspiration from. So I knew that I wanted my characters to pretty much go through a journey, a transformation. I do want to say, I know that I am being a bit vague in this video around certain things, but obviously I can't talk about everything because that's going to be the webcomic, and I need you to read the webcomic. So maybe in a future video, I'll do some recaps, maybe after a few more episodes of the webcomic have been released. Next, we're going to talk about the visual development of the webcomic, but first, if you are really enjoying what you're hearing so far, definitely like the video and consider subscribing. Step 2, visual development. Tools that I recommend for this phase are Sketchbook, once again, digital or physical, Notion, Milanote, Pinterest, and a camera, whether it's a physical camera or the camera on your phone. There is a lot that falls into visual development. I usually start a story with an overall mood board. This can be a combination of Pinterest, as well as Milanote, and this is really just a collection of some recognizable things. Maybe it's photos or screen grabs from your favorite medium, a TV show, a movie, some imagery and stills from that. This is really what started to give me that kind of look and feel for my comic. The next thing I did was use Pinterest for my character design. I use Pinterest as my first mood board when it comes down to my character designs. I'm just collecting everything and anything that has to do with my character looks. Hairstyles, pictures of references that look similar to my characters. Really, it's great because as you pin more things, then you actually help build your algorithm. So I would just be like on Pinterest just leisurely, and I couldn't escape any ideas regarding my webcomic because I would literally have recommendations popping up and just say, oh yes, that's really cool. I would love for a species of alien to look like that. Or that's a really cool outfit that I think Sophie would wear. I have a separate pin board for each character, mostly the major and first minor characters. That way I can just start dumping as much into the boards as possible. And this is the time where I am starting to create what are references. These references are what's going to help me start to draw my characters and the world that they're going to live in. We're using references, right? Pre-work for your webcomic are things like character designs, expression sheets, and even character turnarounds. I typically do character turnarounds for major characters. Characters who are minor, you see them maybe once every few episodes. I don't tend to do a character turnaround for them, but whatever works for you is probably what's best. If you really need to know what they look like from all angles, go for it. And I do want to put a little asterisk in this part especially. Some of these things may change, and they will change. The outfit ideas that I had for certain characters are in some of their maybe second or third versions. If some of these things change, that is perfectly fine. This is not written into stone, and sometimes our designs and ideas evolve, and that's perfectly fine too. So definitely don't take what I'm saying as this is law, this is written into stone, you can't change anything ever. And that's not the case. Everything is going to change or evolve. Even your own drawings are going to change over the course of your webcomic. And now we are in step 3, and that is writing. Now, recommended tools for this: Notion, Milanote, a writing app of some kind, and of course, sticky notes. I love me some sticky notes. Now, whether it is a full script or just simply thumbnails, outlining your story is a very, very important part. It is essential, in fact, and something that is very important to know from beginning to end is pretty much how your story is gonna go. Little personal story. So this isn't my first rodeo into the webcomic webtoon sphere. A lot of the things I didn't do for that webcomic were the things that I'm talking about in this video. It's kind of funny because it's one of those like do as I say, not as I do, but literally it's my past self telling my present self, do as I say, not as I do. When I start a story, I usually take kind of a zoomed out lens. I usually start with a typical 3-act structure. So we've got act 1, 2, and 3. Act 1 being the background, as well as the conflicts and the rising action. Then we have act 2, which are typically important tension points and also what's leading to the climax. And then act 3, falling action and the resolution. After I understood this, then I moved on to my story outline. I was able to use Milanote, helped me create a visual outline of my first act all the way down to my last. I used what's called the 16 story beats, or Save the Cat story structure. My screenwriting folks, if you know, you know. And this is really just a great guideline, in my opinion, especially for beginning writers. So if you are an artist who doesn't have too much training when it comes to writing, I really recommend this as a guideline throughout your writing process. This is a really great structure too, because pretty much 90% of movies and TV shows use this structure. And you still have the freedom to, you know, subvert expectations and tropes if that's something you're interested in. Now, writing, of course, doesn't stop with just writing your outline, but also writing your characters. A lot of people like to use character sheets, you know, Dungeons and Dragon character sheets. Those are a really cool tool. Having your character's desires, motivations, quirks, flaws, just anything that fleshes out your character and makes them a reality. Writing who your characters are at the start, that kind of serves as a North Star for your characters. That way, when you're writing scenes or progressing through the plot, you don't feel like your characters are just being thrown around the story. Who they are as characters is what's propelling them and moving them forward throughout your comic. Final thoughts. All of this has been going on since January. So that means I have been in development of my webcomic for about 6 months now. Granted, there were a lot of things going on, and then of course I just came back from California in June. Did have a lot going on, don't get me wrong. I still think that it's important to note analysis paralysis is definitely something you don't want to get stuck in. Don't get me wrong, I love to be prepared. I am a type A girly most of the time, but just thinking about how helpful the pre-work is, just know that there are a lot of things that over time are going to change, and you want to be satisfied, not be a perfectionist. Maybe you are coming into drawing and you're a little unmotivated, or maybe you got off from work late and you're really pushing yourself to make progress on your webcomic, or maybe you're coming out of a break or hiatus. The pre-work and development of your story is going to future-proof your story and really help your future self when you're trying to push through doing episodes and you're cramming at 3 a.m. in the morning because you promised that you would put your episode out on Tuesday and it's already Friday and you're just really stressing out about it. That is the reality of making a webcomic. That is the reality of really making any story at all. Just realize that it is a bit of a balance. Don't get stuck in overanalyzing, don't get stuck in perfectionism, but also help yourself out in the future and be prepared in the areas that you can control. It is super gratifying to see other people's artwork evolve, other people's story come to life. That is the process that goes into being a creator in any form. So hopefully as you use this stepping stone at the beginning of your idea creation, you'll be able to see your story and your process evolve all throughout whatever you do. At the moment of this video, I have about 12 plus episodes fully written and scripted out and ready to be drawn. So I'm excited to say that the next few videos you see from me are going to be some of my very own webtoon vlogs. So I will be documenting the ups and downs and everything in between of me and my life as I am working on my webcomic. If you are interested in that and are wanting updates on the progress of my upcoming webtoon, please don't forget to subscribe to the channel and turn on the bell notification so that way you can get notified when I upload. So if you found this video useful and helpful, please share it with your friends, other people who may benefit from this video, and also don't forget to give it a like. That way it gets boosted to other people who are also trying to start their webtoon. Alright, thanks for watching! See you next time!